Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
It means nothing, does it? I closed the door, and I stayed. I felt the weight of the air sink into my lungs, and I could almost hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I shouldn't hear anything, really. No voices, no footsteps, nothing but the hush of the house. And yet, everything was suddenly too loud. The hum of the refrigerator, the soft click of the ceiling fan, the blood in my temples. 1 second earlier, I'd thought about turning around and leaving, but my hand had dropped from the handle. I stayed because that was the only thing that made sense, or maybe because nothing made sense anymore. I moved into the hallway. The walls felt close, and each step on the hardwood threatened to break the silence. There was a light shining under the door to the den, and I knew Mary had just been in there. I could smell her perfume in the air, a soft hint of something floral. But the scent felt toxic now, like a poison I'd been inhaling all along. My name is Robert Anderson. Some call me Bob, but I doubt she'll ever call me that again. Right now, I don't really care what she calls me. All I know is that this house, my house, doesn't feel like home. I remember the day I bought her that lingerie. I was proud of it, proud of the way I'd quietly chosen something special, something I thought would bring us closer. The lace was delicate, the color was a muted burgundy, and I pictured how she'd look in it. My wife, the mother of my child, radiant and confident. Back then, I believed she was mine, and I never questioned that belonging. Never once did I consider that another man's hands would trace those lines, or that another man's eyes would devour that moment meant only for me. But I'm skipping ahead. Let me give you a clearer picture. Mary is my wife, or at least she wears the ring I gave her. 35. Lean figure, long, chestnut-colored hair, and a careful grace in all she does. She's from Los Angeles originally, but she followed me up to Seattle when we decided to start a life together. She has a background in psychology, but works as an office assistant in a consulting firm. I manage logistics at a transportation company. We have a son, 6 years old. I won't say his name. I won't drag him into this more than I have to. He's the only part of this entire fiasco I care about protecting. Last week, I noticed something off about Mary. She'd come home late, wouldn't answer texts with her usual immediacy, and I smelled a different cologne in the car. She claimed it was someone from work, but the brand was something I recognized. It was the same cologne my friend Daniel Hayes wears. Daniel is 36, a junior partner at a law firm, a smooth talker who's always prided himself on being just a bit better than the rest. We watched football games together, had barbecues in each other's yards. I trusted him. The day before yesterday, I was in the lobby, speaking to the maintenance guy about some minor repairs, when the subject of our building's security cameras came up. He told me, in passing, that the cameras had a new angle capturing the side stairwell. My heart pounded. A flash of suspicion flared in me. An hour later, I talked him into letting me see the feed. Just for my peace of mind, I told him. In reality, I wanted proof. That, or I wanted to prove I was wrong. Part of me still believed Mary could never do such a thing. Part of me believed Daniel was just a friend, a buddy who'd show up at gatherings and drink a beer with me. Part of me felt ashamed for even looking. But I saw it all. I watched it in a dim corner of that dusty maintenance room, my breathing ragged and my lungs burning from the acid in my gut. The date stamp was from last week, the day she said she'd had an office dinner. The timestamp said 11:13 p.m. My eyes locked on the screen as two figures slipped into the stairwell, half laughing, half whispering. The lighting was poor, but I knew Mary's silhouette the moment I saw it. And Daniel's, standing too close. He had his hand on her waist, pulling her in. The motion-activated camera flickered, but the image was too detailed for any illusions. They kissed, pressed up against the wall, breathless. Her hair fell in front of her face, and he brushed it aside. She was wearing that lace lingerie beneath her blouse. The strap slid off her shoulder. I saw her lean back, surrendering every inch of herself to him, arching closer. He whispered something. She laughed softly. Their bodies collided again in a desperate, tangled merge of limbs. I remember I couldn't breathe for a second. My throat felt tight as though I were suffocating on every betrayal I'd ever tried to imagine. I wanted to close my eyes, but my gaze stayed pinned to the screen, forced to absorb every stolen kiss, every moan. Yes, I heard it. The microphone picking up the faintest sounds. I heard him groan her name. I saw her nails dig into his shoulders. It was raw, animal. They were so sure they were alone. They didn't care about the possibility of a camera. They had no shame in that stairwell, no guilt. They were consumed by each other. When the clip ended, I just stood there. The maintenance guy hovered, shifting awkwardly. He mumbled something like, "I'm sorry, man, I didn't know." But I couldn't answer. In that moment, it was like I'd died and was watching someone else's body. I left soon after. I didn't say a word, and I didn't need to. That was all the evidence I'd ever need. That was all the evidence that love, trust, loyalty, it could be snapped in half like a twig underfoot. Now I'm here, in my own home, replaying that scene in my head. The stiff hush of the house is driving me insane. My job is about logic, about making sense of schedules and shipments. But there's no schedule for heartbreak. There's no logic for betrayal. I lean against the wall, closing my eyes. This is the place where Mary and I used to sit on lazy Sunday mornings, sipping coffee, talking about our boy's future. Now I can't help but see the memory of her pressed up against Daniel in that filthy stairwell. I hear movement in the next room. Light footsteps. A soft exhale. She's here, on the other side of the wall. I wonder if she has any idea that I know. My phone vibrates in my pocket, probably an email or a text from work. I ignore it. Nothing matters right now except the quiet storm building in my chest. I open the door to the den and see her. She's standing by the window with her arms folded, as if she's trying to hold herself together. She looks at me, and for a second, I see a flicker of guilt. But she's good at hiding her emotions. She's had practice. "Robert," she says. Her voice is soft. "You're back early." I don't answer. I cross the room in 2 steps and open a drawer. Inside there's a stack of bills, some random receipts, a paperclip holder. Nothing important. Or maybe everything is important now that nothing is normal. I open another drawer. Finally, I take out a single USB flash drive, the one that holds the downloaded footage. I set it on the desk. She watches my every movement. "Mary," I say, my voice steady, "I'd like you to watch something with me." She glances from me to the flash drive, and her face goes pale. Her hand trembles. She tries to force a smile, something half-baked, a leftover from a time when she thought a quick grin could smooth out any disagreement between us. "What is it?" she asks, but her tone is strained. "Proof," I say. I keep it short, like a final verdict in a courtroom. No flourishes, no emotion, just the word. She takes a step back, almost hitting the window. I turn on my laptop. My hands move calmly, systematically, as if I'm logging into a secure system at work. Then I plug in the USB and open the file. I press play. The video flickers to life on the screen, and I see the color drain from her cheeks. She sucks in a ragged breath, eyes darting between me and the screen. The audio picks up the echo of their movements. For 5 endless seconds, neither of us speaks. On screen, her blouse slides from her shoulder. My best friend's face is inches from hers. Her lips part in a silent moan. She lunges forward to slam the laptop shut, but I grab her wrist. Gently, but firmly, I hold her. "No," I say. We watch. The clip ends, and a bleak hush settles in the den. She tries to pull her hand away. I let her go. She stumbles back, pressing her palms to her temples. "It's not what it looks like," she whispers, voice shaky. "It's the oldest lie in the book, and she knows it. When she meets my eyes, I see tears gathering, but I don't feel mercy. Something inside me is frozen over. Don't insult my intelligence, I say. The words come out like a hammer to an anvil. I've never spoken to her like this before, but I'm no longer the man I was. I'm something else. Calm, cold, dead, but still walking around with a pulse I can't explain. She tries again. I made a mistake, Robert. How many times? I ask, cutting her off. How many nights? How many lunches that ran too long? My tone is flat, direct, as if cross-examining a defendant. Don't lie to me. I'm not an idiot. Her voice breaks. I don't know. It just happened. I stare at her, taking in her trembling lips, her pinned-back hair, the slight smudge of mascara under her eyes. This is the woman I thought was devoted, who turned my bed into a place of lies. Daniel, I say, my friend, the man I used to trust. You brought him here. She shakes her head. I never brought him into our home, Robert. I swear. That was just the stairwell, and maybe a few other places. She stops, realizing how pathetic that sounds. You think location matters? I ask quietly. I don't raise my voice. Maybe I should. Maybe a man in agony would scream, but the rage is a stone in my chest, and I can't do anything but talk in this dead monotone. I gave you everything I could. I gave you my life, my money, my respect. I gave you a child. She covers her face, sobbing now, but I can't comfort her. I feel nothing but a deep, hollow ache. I speak again, quieter, like a final statement. I'm not leaving. Not until you do. My words hang in the air. She dropped her hands and stares at me. Robert, we can work through this. We can do counseling. I shake my head. Don't waste your breath. I've already made my decision. I turn and walk out, leaving her behind in the den. The next moments blur. I go to the kitchen, fill a glass with water, drink it slowly. My hand trembles, but my voice in my head is calm. Part of me wants to break every dish, fling them against the wall. Another part of me just wants to drift away, to step onto the street, and keep walking until I vanish. But the child sleeping in his bedroom, or maybe playing with his toys, needs me. At least that's what I tell myself. And in a way, that's the only tether keeping me from disappearing. The next day, I move forward with the plan. I go to my lawyer's office, a calm place with modern furniture. The city bustles outside, indifferent. I tell the lawyer I'm filing for full custody of my son. I bring along the psychological evaluation that states Mary's emotional instability, an evaluation she once got from a counselor after a rough patch of postpartum depression. We never thought we'd use it against her. Now I have to. I also bring the video footage. My lawyer warns me that adultery isn't always the deciding factor in custody battles, but the moral angle can help. It's not about punishing her as much as ensuring I don't lose my boy. But to be honest, I want to punish her too. But denial has an expiration date. The day I found that men's jacket in her trunk, she insisted it was for a friend. Her eyes flickered with guilt. Even then, I said, "All right, I trust you." But somewhere inside, the truth was carving me out like a rotting core. I start the engine again, pull out into the street, decide to drive to a diner. My hand is unsteady on the wheel. I can't remember the last time I slept properly. My thoughts keep going in circles. I cross a few blocks, pass a park. Dawn light is creeping across the lawns. At the diner, I slip into a booth. There are two older men at the counter, sipping coffee. They glance at me with mild curiosity. The waitress, a kind-faced woman who's worked here for years, asks if I want my usual. I nod. Or maybe I grunt. She smiles sympathetically, like she can sense heartbreak. People who see customers day in and day out develop a sixth sense for trouble. I get the coffee, black, no sugar. It tastes bitter, but it's the warmth I need. My phone pings again, and this time I flip it over. It's from her. The text is basically a repetition. Maybe she's realized I tampered with her phone. Maybe she's typing, "Where are you? Please come back." But it's spitting out nonsense or partial confessions. I set my phone face down again. I sip coffee in silence, my eyes burning. The men at the counter keep talking about last night's football game, the big upset. They're laughing, enjoying a carefree morning. I envy them. The waitress eventually asks if I'd like anything else. I just shake my head. She moves on with that gentle, non-intrusive compassion that servers develop. She doesn't pry. After finishing the coffee, I slip out of the diner without a word. The sunlight outside is sharper now. I see my reflection in the glass door. Unshaven stubble, dark circles under my eyes. I get back in my car, drive aimlessly through residential streets, past the same row of houses over and over. Everything looks normal from the outside. I wonder how many people are going through the same torment behind closed doors. How many men are silently swallowing that sense of betrayal, too afraid to speak or too broken to fight. My phone starts vibrating. I see it's my boss from work, probably checking on that marketing proposal. I ignore it. I can't deal with that right now. Instead, I park near a small playground, watch parents with toddlers. They push the kids on swings, they chase them around, laughter echoing in the crisp morning air. My wife, Emily, once said she wanted kids. We planned it so carefully, or at least talked about it. Then it kept getting postponed. My career got busy. Her schedule changed with a new teaching position. We told each other, next year. Next year. Now I realize, maybe that was just a convenient excuse, or maybe deep down she knew something was unraveling. Or maybe I was too wrapped up in my own ambitions to see her drifting away. Eventually, I can't sit here anymore. I drive home, not sure what I'll do when I get there. The house is quiet when I enter. The living room curtains are still drawn, so it's dim inside, nearly dark despite the morning sun outside. It's like the house has turned into a cave. I hear muffled steps upstairs. My stomach drops. For a split second, I wonder if Kevin is in my house right now. The very idea sends my heart racing, but I know it's unlikely. She wouldn't be so bold, or would she? I find her in the upstairs hallway, phone in hand, obviously upset. She's turned the screen to me, maybe expecting me to explain the sabotage. She tries to ask, "Did you do this?" I see a mixture of anger and shame on her face, like she's confronting me for violating her privacy, even as she's the one who broke my trust. I exhale, keep my lips pressed tight. She steps closer, the phone shaking in her hand. She says my name, tries to get me to look at her. It's the first time in weeks I feel a jolt of something like power, though it's ugly power. I simply shrug, like I have nothing to say. My silence is the only weapon I have. She steps back, rubs her forehead, exhales. She tries to reason with me, maybe. She wants me to see her perspective, or she's rationalizing. She's talking in half sentences. "You've been distant. I felt alone. I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened. You and I were drifting. It isn't what you think." I swear. The words blur, a litany of half-lies and half-truths. I hold up my hand again, that same gesture as before. Enough. She quiets. We stand like that for a moment, the tension pressing around us. Then I speak for the first time. I tell her she doesn't need to explain. That's all I say, in a flat, cold tone. Her eyes fill with tears, but I can't tell if they're tears of regret or frustration. She tries to ask if I still love her. My mouth moves, but no sound comes out. I swallow painfully and just turn away, heading down the stairs. She follows, but keeps a few steps behind, like a shadow. In the kitchen, I open a cupboard, rummage for a glass, fill it from the tap. She lingers in the doorway, scanning my every move. She's waiting for me to lash out or break down. Instead, I just stand there, leaning against the counter, sipping water without tasting it. She eventually says that she wants to talk, that we can fix things if we try. I set the glass down, walk to the living room couch, sink into it. The cushions swallow me up. There's an emptiness in my chest so deep it feels like I'll never claw my way out. She sits on the armchair across from me. The morning light creeps through the edges of the curtains, but mostly it's still in shadow. She starts talking again, trying to fill the silence. She confesses she met Kevin a while back, that it was purely friendly at first, some connection with the restaurant he manages, maybe a conversation that sparked. She found him exciting or supportive, or some nonsense about how he listens to her in a way I stopped doing. My jaw clenches. I want to bark. Are you seriously justifying cheating on me because I didn't gush over your every word? But I don't. I keep listening in stony silence, letting the words swirl around me. She says it was never meant to go this far, that it started with coffee, progressed to dinners, eventually nights. Each step, she says, felt like it was crossing a line, but she couldn't stop. She tries to explain the guilt and the thrill. She tries to say she's sorry, that she hates herself for it. I almost laugh. Hate yourself for it? Then why do it over and over? The cynic in me wants to spit in disgust. But I remain quiet. Let her talk. Let her bury herself in the confession. Let her own the weight of it. She tries to glean some kind of absolution from me, but my face is numb. My eyes are hollow. She starts to cry, but I can't find sympathy. The tears might be real, but so was her betrayal. She says my name again, tries to approach, like she wants to hug me or hold my hand. I recoil, stand up, pace to the window. She stops, arms hanging by her sides, tears tracking down her cheeks. Time passes in that suffocating half-light. I don't even notice how long we've been there until my stomach growls, reminding me I haven't eaten. But hunger is the last thing on my mind. Finally, she stands, says she needs to step outside, get some air. I don't object. Once she's gone, I collapse back onto the couch, let out a trembling exhale. My head throbs. If this were a single betrayal, I might have tried to salvage it, talk it through. But it's been going on, behind my back, systematically. She came home at 4 in the morning just a few hours ago. And now I'm supposed to believe she's sorry. Eventually, I go upstairs. My phone's on the nightstand. The battery's low. I plug it in, then slump onto the bed. I think about all those times I lay here while she was out. The sleepless nights, the constant swirling thoughts. My mind cuts to a sudden memory. An image of her pinned against someone else, lips parted, eyes closed. I physically recoil as if stung. I can't handle that mental picture, but it's burned into my imagination. The bed we share feels contaminated now. I drag myself up, go to the bathroom, splash cold water on my face. My reflection in the mirror looks hollow. My eyelids droop with exhaustion. I hear the front door open downstairs. She's back. I hear her rummaging in the kitchen. Then, footsteps on the stairs. She hesitates outside the bedroom, as if she's debating whether to come in. I brace myself, but she passes by. I hear her step into the guest room, the door closing softly. Good. Let her stay there. I slide down against the wall, knees drawn up. The entire day becomes a blur of near silence, the two of us moving around the house, avoiding each other's eyes. Twice, I think I hear her on the phone, maybe to Kevin, telling him it's over, or telling him she's not sure what to do. I can't care. I'm too far gone. By late afternoon, I've answered 0 calls from my office, ignoring the outside world. My chest feels tight. I keep taking shallow breaths. The tension builds into the next day. She tries to approach me at different moments, offers me a plate of food, asks if we can talk. I either ignore her or wave her off. She grows frustrated, raises her voice. A sharp question. Say something. Please, just say anything. My jaw sets. I walk out of the room. The next time she corners me, tries to block the doorway. Her eyes are bloodshot. She says she's truly sorry. She said she can't stand my silence. She begs me to scream at her if I must, but not this cold ignoring. I push past her, silent. She slumps down, sobbing, but I feel no pity. My heart is like a stone. The sweet taste of vengeance is overshadowed by the bitterness in my throat, but I can't stop. This is the only control I have left. Late that night, I sense the phone buzzing. She's asleep in the guest room, or at least lying there awake. I see a message light on her phone. I glance at it from across the hallway. Then I turn away. In the bed, I stare at the ceiling, my mind a wreck. I recall the day she told me she loved me for the first time, back when we were dating. She said it softly, her eyes shining, and I believed her with my whole soul. That memory is sharp now, slicing through me. I close my eyes, try to breathe. For a moment, I feel tears well up, but I swallow them down. My father's voice echoes in my head, telling me men don't cry. I grind my teeth until my jaw aches. Days pass in a haze. I go through the motions. Sometimes I leave the house, drive aimlessly for hours. Once I park near Kevin's restaurant. He's inside, presumably. I stand across the street, watching from behind tinted windows. I see a flash of him through the glass doors, tall, well-groomed, with a confident stride. A pang of jealousy and hate clenches my gut. I think about walking in there, confronting him. But what would I say? Attack him physically, demand an explanation. He's not the one who promised me vows at an altar. She did, and I can't shake the sense that my real battle is with her or with myself. I drive back home. The house is silent. She's in the living room, looking at old photo albums, tears streaming down her face. I stand in the doorway, watch for a few seconds. She senses me, looks up. She tries to say something, like, "Remember when we visited Chicago last Christmas, or you said you loved how I looked in that red sweater?" I just stare. She closes the album, sets it aside, stands up. She approaches me. Her voice is low, unsteady. She says if there's anything she can do to fix it, she'll do it. She says she'll never see him again. She says she'll beg for my forgiveness every day. My face remains empty. She touches my arm lightly, and I flinch. Something cracks in her expression. She steps back. Darkness seems to envelop the room again, pressing in from the corners. Finally, she breaks. She says she can't live like this, that if I can't forgive her, maybe we should separate. Maybe it's best if she leaves. She's trembling. I watch her, feel a spark of anger. So now she gets to walk away, leaving me alone with the shards of what was once our marriage. My hands ball into fists. She sees it. For a moment, I see genuine fear in her eyes, but I'm not going to hurt her physically. I just feel that surge of rage pulsing through my veins. Then I turn and walk upstairs, leaving her there. I recall the night I installed the phone sabotage. I was in bed, phone in hand, her phone in the other. She'd left it unlocked by accident. I scrolled through messages to him. My heart hammered as I read the "miss you, wish I could be with you now. Last night was amazing." I tasted blood in my mouth from biting my cheek. Then I found the keyboard settings, typed a new shortcut. Whenever she typed love, it would autocorrect to betray. My finger hovered over the screen for a second, my conscience screaming at me not to do it. Then I clicked save. A cold thrill shot through me, followed by a wave of self-disgust. That's the man I've become. Someone who plays petty games to catch her or to humiliate her. But I had no other recourse. She was lying to me, and I was lying to myself. Now I see the consequences. She discovered it, and there's no more illusions. She knows I know. She's faced the mirror of her own guilt, and there's no more gaslighting me that I'm crazy or paranoid. The entire charade is collapsing. Yet I find no comfort in it. My days are spent in a dead silence. My nights are tortured by imagining them together. The only brief relief I get is that moment of small vengeance, seeing how rattled she is. That's how low I've sunk. One evening, near midnight, I hear her phone ring. She answers softly in the guest room. I eavesdrop from the hallway. I hear muffled words, something about him. She's telling him not to come here, not to try to fix anything, that she has to handle this on her own. Or maybe she's telling him she's done. It's a subdued conversation with uneasy tension. I feel a sudden impulse to barge in, snatch the phone, scream at him. But I hold back. My anger sears me from the inside, but I've become the master of silent war. She ends the call. The next morning, she tries again to talk to me, begs me for a chance. I walk out the door, ignoring her. I can tell she's close to breaking. That afternoon, I come home from a short trip to the store. She's in the living room, pacing, hair disheveled, eyes red. She says we need to talk. She insists. Something in her tone is final. I stand across from her, arms folded. She breathes in. She starts to speak, carefully, haltingly. She knows she messed up. She's ended things with him. She wants to salvage what we have. She's not asking me to pretend everything is fine. She just wants a chance to show me she's serious. I watch her for a long moment. My heartbeat thunders, not with love, but with a swirl of hate and heartbreak. I tell her quietly, I have nothing to say. I start to walk away, but she grabs my arm. For the first time in ages, I see real desperation in her eyes. She begs me to believe her. She swears she'll do anything. She mentions counseling, therapy, quitting her job, whatever it takes. I yank my arm free, my composure cracking. My voice, hoarse from days of silence, rasps out something like, "Do you think I can just forget you spent your nights in another man's bed?" She flinches. My words come out in an angry hiss. She tries to respond, but I cut her off with a trembling hand. The bartender noticed, gave me a concerned glance, but I waved him off. I didn't need pity. I needed to let the final shards of my old self fall away. When I left the bar, it was almost midnight. The city was quiet, the streets glistening with a recent rain. Headlights reflected off puddles in dark alleys. I made my way home, the only home I had left, and unlocked the door to silence. For a moment, I paused in the doorway, half expecting to hear Alex's voice, to sense her presence, but the apartment was dead still. I kicked off my shoes and walked through the dark rooms. It wasn't until I reached the bathroom that I heard it again. The drip, drip, drip of a faucet. The same sound that had started this entire nightmare. I turned on the light and stared at the sink. A slow leak from the tap formed a bead of water. Then it fell, hitting the porcelain with a soft asterisk ping. Asterisk over and over. I clenched my jaw and tried to shut it tightly. But the faucet was old, worn out. The drip continued. Then something in me snapped. I grabbed the handle with a sudden, violent twist, ignoring the groaning sound of metal scraping. For a moment, the dripping stopped. A hush settled. My reflection in the mirror looked unhinged, eyes wild, hair disheveled, suit jacket dripping from the rain outside. I thought about the last few weeks. The Netflix discovery, the party, the corridor where I saw them touching, the investment scam, her broken expression, my final victory that felt more like a death sentence. Rage and sorrow collided inside me. I slammed a fist against the sink, feeling the shock vibrate up my arm. The mirror shook, but didn't break. The faucet groaned again, and for half a second, I feared it would snap clean off. I waited, heart pounding. Finally, the drip returned, slow, mocking, as if to remind me that nothing truly stops, not even when everything is lost. I exhaled a ragged breath, flicked off the bathroom light, and walked into the bedroom. This time, I didn't expect her to be there. I knew she wouldn't be, not ever again. I removed my jacket, threw it on a chair, and sank onto the mattress, staring at the dark ceiling. In the blackness, my mind conjured the image of Alex's face from that final morning. No tears, no screams, just emptiness, a quiet resignation, like she understood we'd burned every bridge. Some might expect me to feel regret in that moment, to wish I could take back my cruelty. But I felt none. The only thing I tasted was a strange mixture of satisfaction and desolation, swirling together in the pit of my stomach. I thought about Michael, how he'd looked at me in the cafe. Concerned, guilty, maybe even in love with her. A wave of disgust coursed through me. But behind that disgust was a faint, weary acceptance. They'd do what they wanted, and I was no longer part of their story. Time passed in a haze. I couldn't tell if I slept. Eventually, dawn's pale light crept around the edges of the curtains. A new day. A life without her. A world that felt empty and yet strangely open. I forced myself up, showered, dressed in fresh clothes. My reflection stared back from the mirror with hollow cheeks, a stubble that I'd let grow too long, and eyes that had seen too much. The man I used to be was gone. Maybe that was the point. I left the apartment building, heading nowhere. The city's morning rush had started. I drifted with the crowd, stepping over cracks in the sidewalk, passing strangers who looked right through me. I remembered how Alex always said New York's anonymity could be comforting if you embraced it. Maybe she was right. Eventually, I wound up at a small park, half-empty benches scattered among skeletal trees. I sat down, leaning forward, elbows on my knees. The cold air stung my face, but I hardly felt it. My mind was a blank canvas. I tried to conjure some sense of purpose. Asterisk what now, John? Asterisk my future, once so carefully charted, was a blank slate. My finances, ironically, were still intact because I'd made sure only her portion would vanish. Part of me felt relief. Another part felt a nagging shame. But I shoved that aside. An older man wandered by, wearing a faded cap, feeding pigeons from a small bag of seeds. He gave me a nod. I nodded back. For a moment, I envied his simple routine. I wondered if he had regrets, lost loves, or betrayals in his past. Probably. Maybe he, too, had once known heartbreak. I closed my eyes, letting the faint winter sun warm my eyelids. My chest felt tight, but no tears came. I felt too empty for tears. Alex's face swam through my thoughts, her gentle smile when we first started dating, her body pressed to mine in the darkness, the soft moans that told me she was mine. I saw her leaning toward Michael at that party, eyes lit with excitement, the foam in her hands glowing like a beacon of our doomed marriage. A short laugh escaped me, startling a nearby pigeon. How surreal life can be. One moment, you're secure, trusting, wrapped in the comfort of routine. The next, you discover your wife has added another man to your Netflix, and it all spirals into ashes. But that was the reality. I'd been destroyed only to discover I could still stand. I'd lost a love that once meant the world to me, but in that loss, I found a twisted kind of freedom. No more illusions, no more false smiles, no more nights lying awake in suspicion. I stayed on that bench until my limbs felt stiff with cold. My phone buzzed a few times, calls from business associates, maybe an old friend trying to reach me. I ignored them. I was not ready to be that version of myself again. I needed space, time to figure out who I'd become. Eventually, hunger pushed me to move. I grabbed a coffee from a nearby cart, sipping it black and bitter. Each swallow felt like a slap to my taste buds, but at least it woke me up. I pulled out my phone, stared at the blank home screen. No messages from Alex, of course. No reason for her to reach out. My finger hovered over the messaging app. A momentary impulse to text her something. Asterisk what would I even say? Sorry. Come back. Are you all right? Asterisk none of those felt honest. The only emotion I truly owned was the knowledge that I could never forgive her. Not fully, not in this lifetime. So I locked the phone, pocketed it, and walked on. The city roared around me, indifferent as always. My revenge was complete, my marriage destroyed. Part of me expected more satisfaction, more closure. But maybe closure was a myth. Maybe some wounds just keep bleeding quietly, no matter how many times you stitch them up. As I crossed the street, a taxi nearly clipped my heel, honking angrily. I stepped back onto the curb, heart pounding. For a split second, I thought, asterisk, what if I had let it hit me? Asterisk, but that was fleeting. I might be broken, but I wasn't suicidal. I was too consumed by anger and bitterness to even consider giving up. I took a slow breath, scanning the faces around me. Men in suits rushing to offices, women juggling bags and phones, students with backpacks dashing for the bus. They all had their secrets, their heartbreaks. Some hidden, some too big to hide. And me. I was just another man who'd learned the hard way how fragile trust can be, how easily love morphs into something poisonous. But I walked on, step by step, carrying the aftermath of my choices. That evening, I returned to the apartment. The hallway was too quiet without her footsteps, without the scent of her perfume lingering in the air. I set my keys on the counter, noticing the faint ring of dust where her favorite vase used to stand. The emptiness pressed in on me. I turned on the living room lamp and stared at the blank TV screen, remembering how we used to curl up on the couch and binge-watch shows together. My mind flickered to that Netflix profile, the first crack in our marriage's dam. Funny how the smallest detail can open the floodgates. I sank into the chair, exhaling. Scheme untouchable now, I thought. Nobody could hurt me more than I'd already been hurt. I'd lost my illusions, my love. Maybe that meant I'd found something else. A kind of cold, unbreakable shell. My phone vibrated on the table. I considered ignoring it, but a nagging curiosity made me pick it up. Another unknown number. The text read, "You're alive. I hope. Good. We should talk soon. About the future." I stared at the message. No idea who it was. Probably someone from the ruined investment circle, or maybe a new associate sniffing around for a chance to partner. About the future. I let out a quiet chuckle. The future was wide open. A dark expanse without Alex. I typed back a single reply. Not now. Then I set the phone aside, ran a hand over my face, feeling the rough stubble. Maybe I'd call them back tomorrow. Maybe not. The illusions that once guided my life were gone, shattered by betrayal. But I was still standing, still breathing. The drip in the bathroom sink continued. Drip, drip, drip. I decided not to fix it. I would leave it as a reminder, a soundtrack to the emptiness I had embraced. Maybe, in time, I'd replace the entire faucet. Maybe I'd move out of this apartment, or maybe I'd just let it keep dripping, a steady pulse marking the end of one existence and the beginning of another. In the darkness, I thought about Alex's final expression. The stillness of it, the quiet admission of defeat. She didn't cry. I realized that was the detail that haunted me most. Her tears had dried up the moment she understood I was capable of something far more devastating than a violent outburst. I was capable of dismantling everything she held dear, piece by piece, with the cold patience of a man who'd already died inside. And that was the truth. I wasn't the same person anymore. I wonder if I'll be here if she does. The next morning, I wake with a new clarity. She's gone, presumably staying at her parents'. She's done with Kevin, she claims. But is that even true? My mind conjures the possibility that they ran off together. But no, her mother said she's there in Street Lewis. My phone rings. This time I answer. It's my boss, telling me I need to finalize the marketing campaign or he'll find someone else. I promise him I'll have it done. That day, I bury myself in the work to keep from collapsing. But every so often, my gaze drifts to the guest room door, cracked open, the bed still a little unmade from when she last slept there. A wave of sorrow washes over me, but I clamp it down. Days become weeks. She doesn't return. We exchange a few cold text messages about logistics, bills, mail, practical details. Not a word about us, or about love, or about betrayal, just the mundane. My mother calls, tries to pry out the truth. I can't speak of it. I just say we're having problems, we need time. She tries to comfort me, but I keep the call short. At night, I lie in the big bed alone, the silence weighing heavy. I realize I'm waiting for her footsteps. That old habit. Then I remember she's not coming. It's a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. One afternoon, a letter arrives. Actual paper, not an email. It's from her. She writes that she's sorry for everything, that she knows she destroyed my trust. She tries to explain how the affair started, how she felt neglected, how Kevin was new and exciting, how she never stopped caring about me. She says she wants to try counseling if I'm willing, but if not, she understands. She begs me not to let my anger consume me. It's a long letter, tear stains marking the edges, or maybe that's just water spots from the journey. I read it 3 times. Each time, I feel a different wave. Anger, sadness, disgust, pity. Ultimately, I set it aside, face down on the kitchen table. I decide to respond with silence. I say nothing. Weeks pass. My father calls from Chicago, says he heard something from my sister about trouble. I keep it vague. He lectures me about family, about how real men fix things. I let him talk. After I hang up, I throw my phone onto the couch. Real men fix things, sure. Sometimes things can't be fixed, and I'm not sure if I even want to fix this. The sense of betrayal is so deep, I can't see a path to forgiveness. My nights remain sleepless. My chest is heavy with a pain that won't leave, but I keep it locked inside, as if refusing to show it will make me stronger. At last, I get a call from her mother, who begs me to talk to Emily, to at least meet her halfway. She says Emily is crumbling. I stand in my living room, phone pressed to my ear, the mother's voice trembling. She says Emily regrets everything. She's a wreck. I close my eyes. I recall that final moment in the hallway, her suitcase rolling behind her, tears on her cheeks. My throat tightens. I don't commit to anything, just say I'll think about it. I hang up, slump on the couch. The house is oppressive in its stillness. It's around that time I realize, maybe there's no neat resolution. Maybe I'll never get a tidy apology that wipes the slate clean. She's gone, carrying her guilt. I'm here, stewing in my bitterness. Time is passing, but it's not healing anything. It's just erasing the immediate shock, leaving behind a dull scar. I can't bring myself to chase her, but I also can't let go of the anger. I'm stuck in purgatory. Some nights, I think about what a meltdown it would be to see her again, how I'd handle that. Do I want her to come back, or do I want to slam the door in her face? Then, out of the blue, a day arrives when I notice the sun shining through the windows, dust motes swirling in the beams of light. The air is warmer. I hear birds outside. I realize it's been 2 months since she left. My breath catches. The old pain flares, but something else stirs, too. Maybe acceptance. Like I finally understand that this is the new normal. My phone pings. It's from an unknown number. A short text. Want to finalize everything, or do you want me to come back? My heart lurches. It must be her, using a new phone. I stare at the screen for a long time. Every fiber in me wants to respond with anger, with accusations, with heartbreak. Instead, I type, "You can do whatever you want." My heart thuds as I hit send. A minute later, the phone pings again. "You deserve better than my mistakes. If you want me gone, I'll stay gone." I toss the phone aside, pace the living room. My mind races with images of her, of Kevin, of the nights I spent in silent torment. For a moment, I want to fling the phone against the wall. Instead, I drop onto the couch, cradle my head in my hands. I think about how time is starting to blur the details, how nights fade into each other. The betrayal remains, but the edges are less sharp. Time isn't healing me, it's just eroding the immediate sting. Is that a kind of healing, or just slow emotional erosion? Eventually, I stand, walk to the window. The street outside is calm. Neighbors come and go. They have no clue what played out behind these walls. I exhale, rub my eyes. My father's words echo. Real men fix things. But sometimes, You can't fix betrayal. It's a bell that can't be unrung. I realize I must make a choice. Either cut ties and move on, or try to salvage something from the ashes. The thought of letting her back in terrifies me. I picture the nights awake, the way she smelled of him. My chest tightens. I can't see a future where that memory doesn't haunt me. The phone pings again. She's asking if I got her message. I ignore it. The day passes. I open a bottle of water, stare out the window, watch the sky shift from blue to gold to dusk. In that hush of twilight, I realize I've been punishing her with silence, and punishing myself at the same time. I know I can't go on like this forever, but I also know I might never be able to trust her again. The complexity weighs me down. I find the letter she sent, reread it. She begs forgiveness, admits her wrongdoing. She's willing to do anything. My eyes skim over the lines about Kevin. She says it's over, that she ended it, that it was a foolish, reckless pursuit of excitement. She claims to have realized her mistake too late, but she hopes there might be a way forward. I fold the letter, set it aside. My mind drifts to that day I saw her phone wide open. The messages about how fantastic he was, how she felt alive with him. That's burned into my memory. Some lines can't be erased, no matter how many tears are shed. Night closes in again. I wander upstairs, stand in front of the guest room. The bed is made, sheets untouched since she left. I step inside. The air is stale. I open a window, let the cool breeze blow in. My mind replays the final confrontation, the phone sabotage, the moment she read, "I betray you" on her screen. The look on her face, the shock of seeing her own words twisted by my petty revenge. In that moment, we both realized the game was over. She saw how far I'd sunk, and I saw how far she'd strayed. And yet the next morning, we still tried to coexist in the same house, with that thick tension choking us. Then, little by little, it broke us down until she left with a suitcase in hand. Now I'm here alone, recounting every detail as though giving evidence, because that's how it feels, like I'm standing in a courtroom, forced to present the facts of my heartbreak. The lights in the room flicker as if they, too, sense the darkness in my thoughts. I lie down on the guest bed, stare at the ceiling. The events swirl in my head. Her footsteps at 4 in the morning. The morning she found the sabotage. The tears. The numb confrontation. The memory of her face in that final second when she realized she couldn't pretend anymore. I close my eyes. But I don't sleep. Time crawls. Eventually, the dawn light creeps in, pale and ghostly. Another day in this half-life. By mid-morning, I sit at the kitchen table with coffee, phone in hand. I type a message to her new number, a single line. "We should talk." I stare at it, unsure, then hit send. My heart pounds. She responds almost immediately. Name the time and place. I hesitate. My head throbs. I type. "Tomorrow, late afternoon, the diner on Oak Street." She agrees. My body surges with adrenaline, panic, dread. The next day, I dress in something decent, comb my hair, notice the exhaustion etched into my features. I drive to the diner, the same place where I once sipped coffee in a daze. This time, I arrive early, slide into a booth. My hands tremble on the tabletop. People come and go, mostly older folks or midlife couples. The waitress recognizes me, asks if I want coffee. I nod. She sets down a mug and a menu. I realize I'm not hungry. I just stare at the door, waiting. She appears. She looks thinner, pale. Her eyes lock on me from across the diner. She walks over with hesitant steps, like she's afraid I might vanish if she moves too quickly. She slips into the seat opposite me, folds her hands. A hush falls between us. It's the first time we've seen each other in weeks. Her eyes fill with tears immediately. I watch, expression guarded. She tries to speak, falters, tries again. She says she's so sorry, that she doesn't know if I can ever forgive her, but she had to see me. I feel my chest tighten. I tell her I don't know what comes next. She nods, tears sliding down her cheeks. The waitress brings her coffee. She thanks the waitress in a shaky voice. For a long while, we just sip coffee, exchanging glances and half-finished sentences. She tries to hold my hand across the table, but I pull away gently. She tears up again. She starts to explain that Kevin is out of her life, that she regrets everything, that she went back to her parents because she couldn't stand the look in my eyes. She says she wrote me that letter, hoping for any sign I might be willing to talk. I grit my teeth, let out a slow exhale. I tell her about the nights I waited, how I felt powerless. She lowers her head, apologizes over and over. There's raw pain in her voice, but I'm hesitant to trust it. In the end, we speak softly, haltingly, for nearly an hour. The diner crowd comes and goes around us. We're locked in our own bubble of sorrow. Finally, she asks if I'd ever be willing to try therapy. I swallow, consider. I say maybe, I don't know. She nods. The silence between us is heavy, but not as sharp as before. We settle the bill. I walk her to her car. She turns to me, tears threatening again. She says she'll wait for my decision, that she'll respect it if I never want to see her again. My throat constricts. I manage a small nod, open her car door. She climbs in, closes it gently, starts the engine. She glances at me through the window, eyes full of regret, then drives away. I stand there, the sun glaring off the windshield as she pulls into traffic. My reflection in the glass door of the diner looks older, more worn. I feel a trembling in my hands. Part of me wants to crumble onto the pavement, scream at the sky. Another part feels numb acceptance. She's done what she can to apologize. She wants a second chance. I'm not sure I can give it. Either path, walking away or trying to rebuild, will hurt. Betrayal leaves a stain that might never fully wash out. I return home, step inside the silent hallway. Everything looks the same. The difference is that I no longer sense the suffocating darkness. There's just the emptiness. My phone buzzes, a text from her mother, thanking me for meeting Emily. I ignore it, tuck the phone away. I wander the house until dusk. I end up in my office, see the marketing proposal, the life I put on hold. I realize I have to pick up the pieces. I have to make a choice. The night deepens. I find myself in the bedroom, looking at the bed where she used to sleep. My mind replays the nights I lay awake, the beep of the door at 4 in the morning. I stand there, heart pounding, recalling the final confrontation with her phone. The phrase, "I betray you," shining on the screen. Her shock, her tears. I see my own reflection in the black mirror of the window. We've come so far since that night, but the wound is still fresh. I take a shuddering breath, exhale. I can't see the future. I only know that time doesn't fix this kind of damage. It just wears down the edges until we can't remember the exact shape of the pain. But the emptiness remains like a scar. I close my eyes. Let the silence envelop me. In my head, I hear my father's voice once more. Be a man. Hold your pride. But pride never gave me any peace. Right now, I don't know if I have the energy to hold on to it. Maybe letting go is the only way forward. I open my eyes, look at the darkness outside, realize I can't stay in this limbo. I have to decide. Rebuild or walk away for good. Either choice will mark me forever. My knees threaten to buckle. I lean on the wall, the memory of her face at the diner flashing before me. The clock on the bedside table reads 10:27 p.m., another night of no sleep, probably. But I know I need to pick up the phone eventually and give her an answer. My mind whirls with 1,000 possibilities. The only constant is the betrayal that changed everything. I release a heavy breath, step away from the bed, and head to the living room. Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the windows. I switch on a lamp, watch the soft glow fill the space. My reflection in the window is faint now. I take a seat on the couch, phone in hand, stare at it. The living room is so quiet, I can hear my pulse. Time doesn't heal. It just erases details bit by bit, until only the raw truth remains. She lied. She came home at 4. She smelled of him, and I let her. Then I took my petty revenge on her phone. Now we both stand at a crossroads, battered by guilt and silence. I sigh, close my eyes, and wait for dawn. The next day will come, and with it the question, do I let her in again, or do I close the door forever? Either way, the echoes of her betrayal will remain. But that's the cost of living, isn't it? I might never escape the memory of what she did. The only thing I can do is choose what to do with what's left of myself, and maybe learn how to breathe again. For now, I sit there in the living room, phone on the table, ignoring the messages that keep buzzing. Let them wait. The darkness outside thickens, pressing in. And me, I just breathe, steady and silent, the only voice in my head saying, it's over. It has to be. Maybe that's the last mercy I can give both of us. If I speak at all, it might be only to say goodbye. My heart pounds. The hush is absolute, swallowing every sound. And I realize, with an odd calm, that maybe silence, this bottomless silence I've carried, is my final verdict.